If you're not a fan of ghosts and goblins and you're looking for horror that's more of the realistic kind, exploring technological dystopias and the advancements of AI and the implications for humanity and society, then have I got the list for you. Hi, hello, it's Shiv. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, I don't know if that sounds very cozy, but I promise you, all the games on this list I would consider very cozy. Some of them are supremely cozy, some of them a little less so, but I think all of them have something unique to offer for everyone. The games on this list are on all platforms, so almost all of them are on Switch, and the ones that aren't on Switch are on PC and on mobile. So I'm going to be taking you through 8 cozy games about the horrors of technology, and I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on each because I have played all of these. And don't worry, all of this will be spoiler free. The first game in this list is the one that made me want to make this list. I think this game is extremely underrated, and it's really impressive because this game came out a while ago, but its themes are extremely relevant, even more so today with the advancements of AI and how that has factored into the mental health therapy space. This game has the least amount of reviews on this list in terms of Steam reviews, which is why I think it's underrated, but I want more people to go play it so I can talk about it with folks, so that is why I'm telling you about Eliza. Eliza is a visual novel about an AI counseling program, the people who develop it, and the people who use it. Follow Evelyn Ishino Aubrey as she reconnects with people from her past, gets to know the people of Seattle who use Eliza for counseling, and decides the course of her future. So in this game, you're playing as someone who plays the part of a counselor, but you're essentially a puppet for the AI that's feeding you a script. And this game is story-driven, it's essentially a visual novel, and you get to make choices that do influence the way your interactions play out, but I believe this game's path is basically linear. Throughout the course of this game's story, you will be having therapy sessions with your various clients, finding out more about the corporation you work for and the technology it uses. What is so interesting about this game is that it kind of predicted the future. This game was released in 2019, okay? Pre all the advancements we've seen over the past 2 years with LLMs and generative AI encroaching in the mental health and counseling spaces, right? Like therapy chatbots right now are very much a thing, but I don't think they were as much of a thing, at least back then, and they certainly weren't as powerful as they are now. And back at that time, BetterHelp was pretty new on the scene and was kind of the first platform of its kind, I believe, that was offering counseling at a wide scale digitally, e-counseling, right? What's very interesting is in the development of this game, apparently the writer or one of the writers was influenced by their own burnout, witnessing the way that technology was being used in the mental health space, and them witnessing how BetterHelp e-counseling was on the rise. Now this is really interesting to me because since then a lot has happened with BetterHelp. If you're not aware, last year BetterHelp had to pay millions in settlement charges. I actually got some too because I used BetterHelp back before I knew that they weren't a great platform. But they had to pay millions to users because they were found to be sharing sensitive information that they said they would keep private. They were actually sharing it with big companies like the Facebooks and Amazons of the world for advertising purposes, right? And that sucks. And Eliza was a game that really predicted these kinds of issues and this kind of fallout. And it's a game that I played back close to when it released, but I really want to replay now, knowing what's happened recently and see how I feel about the game now. So I would recommend Eliza to anyone who wants a story-driven game that has minimal gameplay, but has a whole lot of interesting writing and dialogue and explores the impact of tech in counseling in a nuanced and interesting manner. Next up, if you love coffee talk, you're gonna love this game. It's just like Coffee Talk, but instead of serving coffee, you're serving up alcoholic drinks, you're working at a dive bar, and it's a cyberpunk future. This game also has a gorgeous killer sense soundtrack that is one of my favorite soundtracks of anything. This game is called Valhalla, Cyberpunk Bartender Action. This is a booze 'em up about waifus, technology, and post-dystopia life. In this world, corporations reign supreme, all human life is infected with nano-machines designed to oppress them, and the terrifying white knights ensure that everyone obeys the laws. But this is not about those people. So in this game, you are a bartender and you're mixing drinks for your customers, and the drinks that you make for them influence how those interactions play out and how the story kind of goes. You have your regulars that come in and you get to know them over time, and it has a very lovable and compelling cast of characters. And I think the writing here is really well done, and you really see a diverse mix of different individuals operating in this difficult society. Now, this game felt so cozy to me. I remember I played it during a period when I was severely burned out from work and life, and I would just come home after a long day and turn on this game, crack open a beer, and literally be sipping on my drink while mixing drinks for customers in Valhalla, and it just felt like a warm hug. And I think that is because of the characters and the writing that I felt that way, as well as the atmosphere and the environment. I find Cyberpunk can be very cozy, but your mileage may vary. Now keep in mind this game does explore some serious and uncomfortable topics. For example, you will see characters dealing with the implications of state-mandated biotechnology, being chronically online, and the impact that has on them when they're broadcasting their lives constantly, living under a police state and under government surveillance, the lives of android sex workers, and more. What I like about this game is that it presents all these topics in a nuanced way and gives you a chill environment to kind of ponder and reflect on them, because the game itself is not a stressful game. The mechanics of the game are very chill. You're just making drinks and doing dialogue. So it really gives you the space to kind of chew on these topics. So if you love good characters and good dialogue, if you love the idea of mixing drinks, if you love coffee talk, you would love this game. This next game is also set in the future, but this one is set up in space, and you are investigating a ship and what happened to its crew members. This game is called Tacoma. Tacoma is a sci-fi narrative adventure from the creators of Gone Home. Set aboard a high-tech space station in the year 2088, explore every detail of how the station's crew lived and worked, finding clues that add up to a gripping story of trust, fear, and resolve in the face of disaster. This game is also a walking sim in a sense. It's very much about exploration, but it's also kind of a detective game in a way, because you're trying to figure out the mystery of what happened to all these crew members on this ship. So the ship is currently deserted in the present when you're in the game, but what you do is you explore and you find these AR like video logs essentially that you can like play and rewind through and just see these like ghostly images of the crew members at the time kind of walking around, like their outlines, and you can hear their voices. The voice acting in this game is also really great, by the way, and really helps you get immersed into the stories and the characters. So the game itself is not scary at all, but I will say there's this eerie feeling just because the ship is deserted and you know that all these characters, something must have happened to them because they're not there anymore. So there is that sense of eeriness, but it's not a scary game. You don't have to worry about jump scares or anything. So my partner has also played this game before, and I was looking at his review of it today online, and he mentions how this is the best F capitalism game he's played. Now, this review is for a while ago, so I wonder if he still feels the same in terms of his ranking here, but I would definitely say this game does do an incredible job of kind of using its story to explore these different, more serious topics around how the advancements of technology impact the way corporations function and treat their workers and worker rights, things like that. So if you're interested in any of those topics, then I think this game would be interesting to you. I think this game is also something that people who love to explore would like. So if you love the idea of a very small but very, very detailed environment, you're gonna really enjoy exploring the spaceship in this game. Next, have you ever wanted to play an Uber driver simulator, essentially? This game explores how the gig worker economy is impacted by tech advancements in the fields of, automation, driverless cars, and also biotechnology. This game is called NeoCab. NeoCab is a visual novel about emotional survival in an automated world. Play as Lena, the last human cab driver. It's your first night driving the lonely streets of Los Ojos, and your best friend has just disappeared. Stay on the road, stay on the search, stay human. So this game is really interesting because there's this whole conceit of the mystery of what's happened to your best friend, and you're trying to figure that out throughout the game. So that plot is really driving things forward. But in the meanwhile, the smaller interactions that you're doing over and over again in the game revolve around having passengers come into your car and you take them from, wherever they are to wherever they need to get going. And while they're in your car, of course, you can talk to them. So this game is very dialogue heavy, and I think the writing is really well done. You have a diverse set of characters, and the truly interesting thing about this game that I think makes it very, very compelling to play is that it has this mechanic around emotion. So in the game and in the world of the game, there's this bracelet type thing that the cab driver wears that is essentially a mood ring that says what your character is feeling. So based on how your character is feeling, you may have more or less choices available to you in dialogue. And I think this is extremely interesting because one, it makes sense, right? Like maybe if you're kind of tired and frustrated, it might be harder for you to say the kind, empathetic thing that you'd normally be able to say, for example. And I also think that it adds this element of strategy in a way because you're trying to manage your emotions while dealing with the different situations that come your way. I really like the way the game handles this mechanic too because I feel like it matters up till the very end. And I really love the way this story concludes. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I will just say that I think it has a very satisfying conclusion, at least for me. I remember going on the internet and reading what other people thought of the ending as soon as I finished this game because I just found that it hit a little close to home for me, honestly. I'm not going to say more than that because I don't want to give anything about the story away, but basically this game is awesome. I also think the vibes in this game are immaculate. You're in a futuristic setting, you're driving around in your car, it feels really good to play. Talking to the characters is really fun. So whether you're just interested in the serious topics that this game covers around biotech and the gig worker economy with the rise of automation, or if you just want to chit chat and vibe with some passengers, I think either way you would have a lot to enjoy with this game. Now for this next one, have you ever been curious about what it would be like to be on the other side? To be someone working for an authoritarian state, surveilling your citizens? If you're looking for a game that explores the idea of this in a meaningful way and actually puts you in the shoes of someone doing it, this game is for you. It's called Orwell, Keeping an Eye on You. Big Brother has arrived, and it's you. Investigate the lives of citizens to find those responsible for a series of terror attacks. Information from the internet, personal communications, and private files are all accessible to you. But be warned, the information you supply will have consequences. I already mentioned BetterHelp in the earlier section with Eliza and their data breaches and whatnot, but this game and its themes also make me think of, something more recent, like with X or Twitter, where a lot of users are currently jumping ship off of Twitter because Twitter has updated its privacy policy to have people default opt in to sharing their data with third parties. So Twitter will share data with third parties in order to train AI models. And I believe you can opt out a bit, but the default is that it's opt-in, which is icky. But yeah, what makes this game so cool to me is that it literally helps you perform the kinds of actions that you'd be performing if you were surveilling someone in the name of security, right? And I think by putting you in the shoes of that kind of person, it really helps you see what all the moral quandaries are up close because you are the one making the decisions about how far you will go and how much privacy you will breach in the name of protecting your citizens and identifying the culprits of the terror attacks that have been happening. So in the game, you are literally scouring through research articles and stuff. So this is definitely a game for people who like to read. If you're not in the mood to read, don't play this game, but this is great if you're in the mood for that. You're going to be combing through stuff, highlighting the data that you think is important, and whatever you choose to highlight and put in your file as evidence or whatever influences how that suspect is perceived. So you have a lot of responsibility you're carrying. And I think this game is really fantastic at making you feel uncomfortable, which I think is really important for a game like this with the message it's trying to get across. You are listening to audio recordings and phone calls and things and reading people's emails and really feeling this sense of wow, I know way too much about this person and their life all of a sudden. But at the same time, it's also dealing with this complexity of like, even when you think you understand someone through their communications, maybe there is some information you're missing. Well, I recommend Orwell, Keeping an Eye on You, if you want to play a game that tackles the subject of surveillance head on, not only through its story, but through its gameplay mechanics, right? Because the plot is all about state surveillance, and you are also literally performing the actions of state surveillance. Like, this is essentially a simulation game. I love it when a game's story and its gameplay, you know, just meshes together perfectly, and I think this game is a great example of that. Now, keep in mind, if you're looking up this game, there is a sequel called Orwell Ignorance is Strength, but I haven't played that yet, though I really want to. I only played the first one so far. Next, I have a game for you that you've probably already heard of. This game is set in a dystopian, futuristic city where there's cool robots, there's beautifully detailed environments, and you get to play as a cat. Yes, this is Stray. Lost, alone, and separated from family, a stray cat must untangle an ancient mystery to escape a long-forgotten cyber city and find their way home. Full disclosure, I've played every single game on this list and completed it. The only game I haven't completed is Stray, but I have made it, like, I think almost 2/3 of the way through, and the only reason why I put it down is because I was playing it with my partner, and at some point we just stopped coordinating our schedules and we just fell off it, but we're definitely gonna go back and finish it. But please don't take that to mean that this game isn't amazing. Stray is an amazing game. This game is a masterclass in environmental storytelling. Like, this game doesn't have a lot of story like it gives you through narration or dialogue necessarily. Like, there are NPC interactions that you have, but most of the things that you learn about the world are through exploring the world itself. And the world is such a joy to explore. I mean, you're a cat, so you get to climb up buildings and hop around and scratch things and just interact like a cat with the world. And the fact that this is like a cyberpunk setting too really adds to the interest. So you're investigating these dilapidated buildings, you're going inside people's apartments, and you're exploring these outdoor environments, looking at these different habitations that have sprung up, and you're building a picture of why this world has come to be the way it is. The sense of atmosphere in this game is also incredible. I think this is an incredibly cozy game. Again, as long as you find cyberpunk cozy, this game is extremely cozy, and the soundtrack is also wonderful. The one thing about this game I will say is that there's some sections that are a little tense where you have to run really fast. I died a bunch of times. I made my partner do some sections because I got a little too stressed out. Your mileage may vary, but there are some sections that are a little bit difficult. There's some minor platforming and puzzles, but overall it's a pretty chill game. If you're someone who loves exploration and loves when a game rewards you for going out of your way to explore every nook and cranny, then Stray is a game that will feel so satisfying for you to play. I also think of a lot of the games on this list, Stray is one of the ones that's the most hopeful and a warm feeling. I think some of the other games are too, but this game in particular I think really explores just like a more hopeful perspective of a dystopian future. So if that's more of what you're looking for, play Stray. Next up, I have another game recommendation for the coffee talk lovers, and this game is actually going to sound a little bit similar on the surface to the previous game I mentioned, Valhalla, but it is very different. So in this game, you are also a bartender, but you also do other stuff, like have conversations on the phone with people and do pottery. This game is by the developers of the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, so if you love that game, then you might love The Red Strings Club. The Red Strings Club is a cyberpunk narrative experience about fate and happiness, featuring the extensive use of pottery, bartending, and impersonating people on the phone to take down a corporate conspiracy. Now, similar to NeoCab in a way, this game also explores the impact of biotechnology on our emotions and how our emotions are monitored by the government or state. In this game, what's very interesting is there's this technology they've developed that has the ability to take away negative emotions like anger and depression. And this game explores what that would mean for humanity. What happens when you take away those emotions from a human? Are they still human? What does it mean to be human? Is it important to feel a range of emotions, or are there some emotions that just shouldn't be felt? So this game does get very philosophical, and I think the writing is really strong, so it really carries these themes home and explores them in such a satisfying and beautiful way. This game also has bartending, like I said, so the drinks you mix do impact how the interactions and therefore the story plays out. So you want to be strategic with how you're mixing your drinks. There's also like pottery mini games in this game that are very cool, and that's kind of to do with how the biotech implants are made. And I love this mixing of like the analog with the cybertech stuff. The writing in this game is absolutely incredible. I loved the time I spent with the characters and in this setting. Since Valhalla is quite similar, just to compare the two, I would say both of them are fantastic games. I can't choose which one I like better. But Valhalla, I think, is a little more chill and a little more slice of lifey. And I feel like the Red Strings Club has a little more of a story-driven plot, and it all kind of builds up towards the ending. Both games are fantastic, but that's how I'd say they're different. So if you're looking for another game that has this warm, cozy feeling despite the tech dystopia setting that it has, the Red Strings Club is perfect for that. Last but certainly not least on this list, I'm going to tell you about a game series that is a classic. In fact, it's often on lists for the best games of all time. These games have really fun writing with a wonderfully dark sense of humor and puzzles that feel so satisfying to solve. That's right, I am talking about Portal. Set in the mysterious Aperture Science Laboratories, Portal has been called one of the most innovative new games on the horizon and will offer gamers hours of unique gameplay. I apologize if that description was a little dry. That was the official synopsis, but let me tell you what I think. These games are incredible, both Portal 1 and Portal 2. So both games have really, really strong writing to support the really intricately put together puzzles. So if you're a puzzle lover, I feel like these games are an absolute must play because they have puzzles that are so incredibly designed. They make you feel so smart when you solve them. The whole crux of the puzzle mechanic is that you have this like portal gun, and so you can shoot 2 portals anywhere in like a room that you're in. So if you shoot one portal here and 1 portal there, you can walk through portal A and then come through portal B. So all the puzzles function around that one simple mechanic, but then each room in the facility kind of builds complexity and adds on different layers and different considerations when it comes to like the physics and all of that. So this is a game you have to use your brain. I think it is maybe the hardest game on this list, for me at least. I also think this game is the one that's most likely to make you giggle on this list. It is funny. And I think I would not have fallen in love with this game as much as I did if it wasn't for the story and for the writing, and also for the voice acting. The reason this game is on this list, by the way, I should say, is because one of the main characters is an AI robot thing. Her name's GLaDOS. And she is a iconic character, and I think progressing through this game is so satisfying because you're not only solving the puzzles, but you're also figuring out a little more about what's going on with this facility, why you're there, and what's up with the AI. Now keep in mind, Portal 1 is single player only, but Portal 2, you can play co-op, and I highly recommend you play co-op if you can. I think Portal 2 co-op is one of my favorite co-op experiences that I've ever had. I played it with my partner and it was just so much fun. So essentially, if you want to feel like a smarty pants, and if you want to have some fun and have a little giggle, then I think the Portal series is a must play. That's it. That's my game list for games about the horrors of technology that still manage to be cozy in my book. I hope you enjoyed this spooky season special that's a little more realistic, a little more gritty. If you have any other games you would add to this list, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know, and I'd also love to know your thoughts if you've played any of these games. What do you think? Do you agree that they were good games? Do you disagree? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to like this video if you liked it and to subscribe if you want to see more like this. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.